Hello, you're watching news from Kazakhstan. It is Tuesday, October 9th. I am Nurbek Savitakhunov. The verdict is in. Alga opposition party member Vladimir Kozlov was sentenced on Monday, October 8th to 7.5 years in general security prison with confiscation of property. Oilman Aghjanat Aminov and civil activist Serik Saparghali received 5 and 3 years suspended sentence.
Before the judge announced the verdict, the audience greeted defendants with applause when they were brought to the courtroom. Notably, few people managed to attend the hearing in Aktau, namely Kozlov's wife Aliya Turuzbekova, observer Yelan Kaliyev and about 40 activists of the party Alga. The judge pronounced Kozlov guilty on all counts of inciting social hatred, calling to overthrow the constitutional order, as well as establishing and running an organized crime group.
Kazakhstan 235 bölümün 1. bölümünde, 164. bölümün 3. bölümünde, 170. bölümün 2. bölümünde koyulgan kılmıstық hareketleri жасаған үшін kınalı деп tanılып, Kazakhstan Respublikası Kılmıstық Kodeksinin 235. bölümün 1. bölümünden мүлкін тәркілеумен 7 жыл 6 айға бас бостандығынан айыру, Kazakhstan Respublikası Kılmıstық Kodeksinin 164. bölümün 3. bölümünden 7 жылға бас бостандығынан айыру, Kazakhstan Respublikası Kılmıstық Kodeksinin 170. bölümünün 2. bölümünden 6 жылға бас бостандығынан айыру жазасы тағайындалсын. Kazakhstan Respublikası Kılmıstық Kodeksinin 58. bölümünün 3. bölümін басшылыққа алып, жеңілірек жазаны неғұрлым қатаң жазаға сіңіру жолымен түпкілікті мүлкін тәркілеумен 7 жыл 6 айға бас бостандығынан айыру жазасы тағайындалсын. Жаза өтеу орны түзеу колониясының жалпы режимі деп белгіленсін.
Бойында болаттар пайнаған,
Все нормально. Это не было судом. Это не был суд. Суд впереди, ребята. Это не суд. Это судилище. И это преступление. То, что сейчас случилось.
Володя, Allah жар болсын, жаным. Володя. Давай.
Суд будет потом.
Ой, Allah, Allah, Allah.
The verdict was very similar to the prosecutor's indictment, and Judge Mirzabekov said he made his ruling based on the presented evidence. As noted by trial observers in his speech, the judge has turned quite a few things upside down. For instance, the Skype conference call with Mukhtar Ablyazov, which was reviewed many times during the trial, suddenly was announced to be of extremist nature. According to the court, Ablyazov and his associates were going to overthrow the government in the country before the end of the year. The funds transferred to opposition politicians and public figures sponsoring their trip to Zhanaozen only serve as a proof of that. Mirzabekov concluded that support needed by oil workers for over 7 months was imposed on them externally, even if it came from the opposition. Considering the partial admission of guilt by Serik Saparghali and full acknowledgement of Aghjanat Aminov, the defendants received a suspended sentence even though they were both found guilty, said the judge. Mirzabekov even noted that Aminov was in fact an organized criminal group leader, created to boost his own ego and do away with the management of his former company. After he was released in the courtroom, Aminov quickly exited the scene with his car while Serik Saparghali thanked everyone and gave a brief interview to the press. Kozlov is not guilty. Now I'm going to fight for him, as well as oil workers and Shedpe station residents, although I'm on probation and certainly limited in what I can do. I agree with Taijan and others who say that Kazakhstan is becoming a part of Russia, losing our sovereignty. Dmitry Kozlov, Vladimir's brother, was also in the court during the verdict announcement. Last time he attended the Aktau hearing, Russian linguistic expert Grachov said that the authorities are in fact a social group, even though it isn't so. Back then, Dmitry said he will have other specialists look into this expert opinion once he returns home to St. Petersburg with a view of getting a more competent evaluation. Dmitry calls the verdict passed unfair and is quite shocked by the severity of the sentence. He is now convinced that once the regime falls and reveals the true face of the deceitful authorities, many will be ashamed of this and other similar verdicts.
Честные люди, кто был на суде, кто видел это, кто это все.
The honest people who witnessed the hearing, they will make their conclusions on the international level and evaluate the justice system. At the moment, the justice system still has an opportunity to rehabilitate itself in front of the international community and the people. I think that the case is not closed yet, and I hope that justice will prevail.
В глазах мировой общественности, в глазах народа.
The prosecution requested 9 years for Vladimir Kozlov, 4 years for Serik Sapargali and 5 for Akjanat Aminov. Kozlov didn't admit his guilt, and in fact the oppositionist said that the prosecutor's office deliberately politicized the process, trying to create a negative public opinion and charged him with something he didn't commit. Numerous observers and public figures who followed the trial from the start were convinced that it is politically motivated and the verdict is predetermined. People in the courtroom, mostly Alga activists who are now left without a leader for a while, were dissatisfied with the verdict.
Мы тут невиновны, мы хотим остаться.
They should have said that they are not willing to leave Kozlov alone. They had to psychologically support Kozlov, and we would not have taken it personally if Serik Sapargali would have done that. Kozlov was representing the entire Kazakh population. Sapargali's and Aminov's influence is not comparable with Kozlov's, but as representatives of the Kazakh people, they must have said that Kozlov is not guilty, and they should have asked for punishment. Even the punishment is nominal. Kozlov's guilt is not proven, and I'm even planning to ask the court to hold me liable as well, as a member of the criminal group. As I am a member of the Alga party, let them hold me liable, because I have the same thoughts as Kozlov, because I was also with the oil workers with Zhanaozen residents. Kozlov is not guilty here. I'm closely related to oil workers. They were not involved in politics, and not even a single Nuratan member came to talk with the oil workers. I feel really bad for them, because they were underpaid in terms of salaries, the same with Karajanbas.
Их никто не агитировал. Они политикой не занимались.
Это не по-человечески. Все то, что творится вокруг Zhanaozen, это не по-человечески.
Everything related to Zhanaozen is inhumane. Everything must have been resolved a long time ago when people were demanding their rights to be fulfilled. Concerning salaries and other issues, the authorities had to resolve this issue, not leading to the bloodshed.
Насчет зарплаты всего. Вот это вот надо было решить власти, не доводить до кровопролития.
Defendants' lawyers, as well as activists and opposition politicians, did not fly in from Almaty on Monday because their morning flight to Aktau was delayed. Passengers waited in the departure area until noon. Our correspondents attempted to find out why.
Пассажиры рейса Алматы-Актау просидели в аэропорту 8 часов.
The passengers of flight Almaty-Aktau waited to take off for 8 hours. Most of them are attorneys and public activists heading to Aktau for the announcement of the verdict on the case of politicians Vladimir Kozlov, Serik Sapargali and civil activist Akjanat Aminov. The plane was scheduled to take off at 7 a.m., but the flight was delayed multiple times throughout the day. Kozlov's and Sapargali's lawyers Alexei Plugov and Kulpash Aygirbayeva spent the time in the waiting room. We were told that our flight is delayed due to technical problems, although I've been here since 9 a.m. During the check-in for the flight at the front desk, I was informed that the flight is delayed due to heavy fog in Aktau. After the check-in, I went online and saw that the weather is fine in both Aktau and Almaty. At 9:30 a.m. they brought us meals from our plane, and at 10 a.m. they announced technical problems. I confirm this. We're waiting since the moment we were informed about technical issues. Later, the official Twitter account of Air Astana reported that the flight delay was caused by a plane malfunction. It took engineers over 5 hours to fix the plane.
Рейс задержан по техническим причинам. В настоящее время ремонтные работы продолжаются.
The flight was delayed due to technical issues. Currently, the repair works are still underway. The weather conditions and technical issues are the reasons for the delay. The safety of passengers is our priority.
Других сообщений от центра управления, то в 15:00 он вылетит.
Nurlan Zhaldosov, the activist of Alga party, was also waiting for the flight. He recorded everything on his cell phone since reporters were not allowed inside the airport. Neither I nor Plugov buy this story because other planes are taking off. I see that the plane from Aktau landed and it's departing at 2, so I see its passengers are checking in. The weather is fine in Aktau and other Air Astana flights from Ust-Kamenogorsk and Astana are on schedule. In addition, Zhaldosov reported that Bolat Abilov, the co-chairman of the political party Azad, Jarmakhan Toyakbay and Roza Akilbekova, the director of Bureau on Human Rights, left the premise after becoming tired waiting for the takeoff. Zhaldosov said that many international observers were heading to Aktau for the announcement of the verdict on one of the most high-profile cases, but it already became apparent that none of them could make it on time.
At the reading, Judge Murzabekov once again spotlighted witness accounts of those who, for one reason or another, could not attend the trial. Two names stood out among others, that of young journalist Jean-Bolat Mamai and stage director Bolat Atabayev. Murzabekov noted that they allegedly classified Alga party's activities as extremist. We asked Mamai himself whether this was true, while politician Amirjan Kosanov commented on the results of the trial.
Neither I nor Atabayev ever said that Kozlov, Alga Party or Halik Maidani were engaged in extremist activities. There were no such testimonies. In fact, my testimony was made public in court, where I clearly said that Kozlov didn't give any instructions and quite simply wasn't entitled to do so because I wasn't his subordinate working for Alga Party. I have nothing to do with the presidium of Alga Party membership. Kozlov wasn't giving any orders to destabilize the situation in the region, and I made sure to specifically point it out. I believe that the verdict was predetermined even before presidential advisor Yermuhammed Yertizbayev hinted that the authorities already declared Kozlov, Sapargali and Aminov true criminals, although he certainly implied that they should be receiving a less severe sentence. I believe that this is a political order to begin with. When I was following Kozlov's trial through social networks, I saw someone saying that the process is really over Mukhtar Ablyazov and not Vladimir Kozlov. I believe this is very true, hence this verdict is unjust and has nothing to do with events in Zhanaozen.
Сегодняшний приговор никакого отношения к правосудию, сегодняшний приговор никакого отношения к жанаузенским событиям не имеет. Оппозиции, в том числе и я.
We can't separate Kozlov's verdict from prior verdicts on cases of oil workers because all of us, including other members of the opposition and Kozlov himself, traveled to Zhanaozen and requested the authorities to respond to the pain, misery and demands which were ignored for 7 months. That's exactly what Kozlov was saying. Apparently, this entire trial was poorly handled and is definitely politically motivated. This happens because the authorities are willing to shift the blame for what had happened to a particular political party.
The National Patriotic Activist under a suspended sentence, Serik Sapargali, was a National Front Movement member who ran for president of Kazakhstan in 2011.
Later, Sapargali withdrew from the race, demanded to recall the election results and asked for the resignation of the incumbent president Nursultan Nazarbayev. The politician was actively taking part in dissenters' rallies in Almaty and then traveled to Zhanaozen during the strike to support local oil workers. Akjanat Aminov is well known among employees of Ozenmunaygas as he often took part in worker strikes and led the Zhanaozen branch of NSDP Azad up to 2011. Previously, Aminov already received a 2-year suspended sentence for organizing one of the latest strikes.
Convicted Vladimir Kozlov obtained his democratic views in Aktau, first as a journalist, then as head of a television channel. After an illegal takeover of the TV station and his move to Almaty, he began work in the democratic movement of Kazakhstan. He was convinced then that reforms could change not only ordinary Kazakh citizens, but the regime itself. However, the conflict between the system and the new movement only strengthened.
Kozlov was born in Aktyubinsk in 1960. By 1962, his family moved to Mangyshlak to work as construction workers building the new city of Shevchenko, Aktau. At different times, Kozlov worked at the uranium pits of the Caspian mining and metallurgical plant, an emergency department, a press service, and a TV station. Since January 2001, Kozlov managed public relations of the organization Democratic Choice of Kazakhstan. In 2003, he was elected to the political council of DCK, becoming a full member of its political council bureau the next year. By 2005, Kozlov held political council presidium membership in both political party Alga and organization Democratic Bloc for Just Kazakhstan. In 2007, he was elected the chairman of the Alga Coordination Committee. Vladimir Kozlov is married and has 4 children, 3 sons and a daughter. Courts, fines, provocations and arrests. It is dangerous to be a leader of the opposition party in Kazakhstan that is not even registered. In autumn of 2010, members of Zhaltoksan movement threw eggs and bottles of water at Vladimir Kozlov for his mere intention to participate in the presidential elections. What has just happened today is way more than just disorderly conduct. It is an attempt to promote national hatred in the meanest way possible. Protection of journalists' rights, adoption of harsh law on national safety limiting the freedom of peaceful gatherings, and also Kazakhstan's failure during OSCE chairmanship. These are the issues raised by Vladimir Kozlov. The leader of his party always looks after those who were persecuted for political motives. Atabek, Sergeyapov, Zhovtis and Sokolov. Kozlov could only guess that his words would prove to be prophetic. They are now doing their time in prison, all with lengthy sentences. Our common goal is to change the ruling power, and we need to do it much sooner than they are supposed to be released because they are heroes, not criminals. The events in Zhanaozen were a turning point for a politician's life. He came to his hometown Aktau several times during the strike since 2011. He was always concerned with oil workers' problems and demanded local authorities and international community to act on them. When the tragedy in Zhanaozen occurred, he demanded an open and impartial trial over the December shooting. He also insisted that no official parliamentary elections be held in the region. We were supposed to be concerned with the human rights in May last year. What are we getting now? Zhanaozen residents make their choices through watching Khabar, reading Kaspravda newspaper and viewing Nuratan and president's billboards on the streets, because there are the only sources of election campaign in Zhanaozen now. The opposition member was reminded of criticism that authorities have been ignoring. The extracts from OSCE reports and international meetings on oil strikes laid the background for Kozlov's indictment.
In the meantime, it was revealed that on the one-year anniversary of Zhanaozen events on December 16th, the city administration will hold Independence Day celebrations. Mayor Sirikbay Trumov also told the website Stan.tv that the city's general layout includes plans to build a shopping mall and recreation center in place of the square where the bloody events occurred.
According to the city development plan, a new big mall will be built there with playgrounds, stores and a movie theater inside.
It is noteworthy that the head of state spoke on the subject of the trial in Aktau before a decision was carried out. In an interview to Russia's Channel 1, Nursultan Nazarbayev announced that all of Zhanaozen's puppeteers were detained. He believes what took place in the oil town last year was an ordinary dispute between employees and their employers, which was taken advantage of by those who nurtured bad intentions. The interview, dubbed The President's Dreams, fails to mention the national leader's main and most desirable dream, the Nobel Peace Prize. Coincidentally, winners of the prize began to be announced in Sweden. The Kazakh president is among the nominees.
It is the Nobel Prize week, and the names of the winners will be soon announced in Stockholm and Oslo. In particular, the Nobel Peace Prize will be awarded on Friday. There are 231 candidates on the list, but their names are not revealed in accordance with the committee's charter. Nevertheless, it is quite possible that Nursultan Nazarbayev made the cut. There are 5 days ahead of us, so we have time. Without doubt, our president can get on the list as a prize candidate. I personally feel that he has long deserved it. Kazakhstan's president has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize several times before. Previously, he was suggested by the Kyrgyz parliament, Norwegian cyclists, and even MPs from Marshall Islands and Japan. According to the world public opinion, the main achievement of the Kazakh president is the shutdown of Semipalatinsk nuclear test site. Semipalatinsk region native politician Serikbolsun Abdildin says this is one of the biggest myths in the country's history. The test site practically ceased functioning 2 years before the decree on its shutdown was adopted. Nazarbayev just claimed someone else's merit. The test site did not have financing from the 90s, and the warheads were destroyed jointly by Russia and the United States. Now Nazarbayev is claiming that he was the one who liquidated the site. Russian state TV showed a 5-minute interview with the Kazakh leader this weekend, who gave short comments about several contentious issues that could spoil the image of the possible Nobel Prize laureate. Zhanaozen extremism, financial crisis, and of course the achievements of modern Kazakhstan. It all sounded like a brief annual report. I dream of Kazakhstan becoming an industrial state which will not be dependent on oil, gas and other natural resources, just like Russia. I hope to achieve this as soon as possible. Whether this dream comes true is yet unknown, whereas the fate of the other coveted dream may become clear this coming Friday, when the names of the Nobel Peace Prize winners will be announced. In the meantime, the Kazakh president is planning an official visit to Russia.
In other grandiose news, the biggest painting in this post-Soviet region was presented in Kazakhstan's Humanitarian Law University. At the center of the mural is the national leader, followed by Astana mayor and the university president. Our correspondents were at the opening ceremony.
Nursultan Nazarbayev, Imangalitas Magambetov and Maksut Narikbayev are front and center on one of the 2 mega murals adorning the whole of the Humanities and Law University in Astana. The second one depicts 3 great Kazakh epic heroes. This presentation of unusual works of art feels like a personal event of the university's president, Maksut Narikbayev, completed with disjointed speech, greetings from visiting guests and small surprise gifts. A crystal depiction of the Supreme Court, since you're one of its founders. The pompous event was held among a small circle of friends. State Secretary Mukhtar Kulmuhamed and capital's mayor Imangalitas Magambetov failed to attend it, but the latter already approved the work and his image. It has no literary effect or the illustrative collage meaning. The key thing is the character, with everyone taking their own place.
Поэтому здесь образ.
As reported earlier, the 3 by 9 meters mural is the largest in the CIS, at least according to the artist. Narikbayev paid $50,000 for the work, but doesn't regret it and says that history can be measured in monetary terms. Narikbayev believes the subject of the work is based on a historical fact and notes that President Nazarbayev, who inaugurated the university, liked the mural. The image of the youthful and smiling nation's leader, as depicted here, was first captured by a photographer. This is modern history. Who else, if not us, people living through these events, can leave memories of it for their descendants? That's what we had in mind. The provost is not going to stop here and already commissioned about 50 more portraits of the university professors. After a while, says Narikbayev, the second floor of the building will become a sort of a museum.
Freedom of speech in Kazakhstan was substantially limited throughout the years of independence. This is the opinion of participants in the conference dedicated to the 20th anniversary of Almaty's declaration on promoting independent and pluralistic media. Despite the internet, social networks, and other opportunities, Central Asian countries still face new obstacles in the work of journalists.
On Monday, human rights activist Roslana Taukina said that Kazakhstan entered a golden age back in 1992 with the adoption of the Almaty Declaration. Over 1,500 media outlets appeared in the country since then. When the Totem TV channel was launched, its main regular guests were state officials and MPs discussing important issues and taking strong criticism. A lot has changed in the next 20 years, including law on mass media and the criminal code amendments, while many independent TV stations have been taken over. Reporters are now frequently sued for large amounts of money or simply threatened and even brutally beaten. Getting back to its declaration, UNESCO is once again saying that not all is good in Central Asia and we have to go back to the issues of freedom of speech and pluralism of opinions, not only in Kazakhstan but in the entire region.
Finally, another state official won the court case against the author of the video in Pavlodar region, which was uploaded on the internet. The court has satisfied the petition of Aksu town mayor Bulat Bakaulov, who was accused of illegal trainings on YouTube video.
Back in June 2012, the short incriminating video of the mayor appeared on the web. The woman in the video, Rimma Nurjaupova, later said the official attempted to take over the flour mill when he was a governor of the Kachir district, which allegedly led to the loss of 8 tons of wheat. The blame was placed on her brother, Kanat Shaykenov, who was declared responsible and is now the main suspect in the wheat gone bad criminal case. Those responsible for the rotten wheat attempted to place all the blame on my brother. As a result, the mill went bankrupt and my brother was asked to give the enterprise to other people. Bulat Bakaulov rushed to dispute Nurjaupova's claims in court. He demanded to disprove the discrediting information and asked for a compensation of around $1,500 in moral damages and legal fees. The court satisfied the official suit, although it isn't clear yet whether the parties will appeal the verdict, as neither plaintiff nor defendant were present at the hearing.
This is all we have time for now. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.